everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hope from Home, the show where we bring you conversations of hope from our home to yours. Today, we begin by getting all the details of this year's National March for Life. Noel Oko speaks with Josie Luetke, the youth coordinator for the March for Life, who tells us how the march will still happen, although virtually. Then, Marianne Torres speaks with Eric Lustcombe, a youth minister who puts a spin on youth ministry. We end the program by getting some tips on how to care for the seniors in our life. Deacon Pedro speaks with Carrie Papillon, who has great tips for our older viewers while in isolation. You don't want to miss that. And of course, they'll all tell us where they're finding hope from our home to yours.
Hello, Josie Luetke. Thanks so much for joining us from Toronto today. How are you keeping?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Hanging in there. It's been a bit tough, but, it's okay. Happy that you're here talking to us now. It makes my day.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. So, Josie, as the youth coordinator and organizer for Campaign Life Coalition, you are involved in planning of this year's annual March for Life event. Can we talk for a little bit about those plans?
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. So I'm sure, like me and a lot of other people, it's been a huge disappointment that the rally in Ottawa is canceled because of the COVID-19. But I understand there's some big plans. Can you tell us what that's all about?
I would be happy to do so. So we have a week-long online program planned, and that is in order to remember the 1969 Omnibus Bill, which passed and decriminalized abortion in Canada. And since then, it has essentially been a free-for-all. We've had 4 million unborn children killed through abortion. So the National March for Life is intended to both remember those victims and also to celebrate life for the lives that we have been able to save. So on Thursday, May 10th, through to Tuesday, May 12th, we have film nights planned at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. First, we'll have Strings Attached by the Culture of Life Africa founder, Obinujo Ikiocha. We'll have an interview with her and as well as a screening of that film. Our Monday night film is still to be determined, but our Tuesday night film will be with Alex Schattenberg, the president of the Euthanasia Prevention Coalition. Obviously, that issue is very pertinent right now, what with Bill C7 in Parliament, which would expand euthanasia significantly. So we'll be screening his documentary, Fatal Flaws, that night. On the Wednesday, we'll have, as we have every year, the Candlelight Vigil, except this time it will be a virtual Candlelight Vigil. And that's going to be hosted by Jesse and Kathleen LeBlanc, or A Guy and a Girl Music. And then we'll have, again, as we do every year, personal testimonies, religious reflections, and a lot of praise and worship music. So
despite the fact that the actual rally won't take place in Parliament Hill, there's a whole bunch of activities and ways to participate online, at least virtually.
Yes. And then the big day is Thursday, May 14th. And so we will, again, be having the same events that we normally have on that day. They'll just be online instead. So the morning we'll have masses, we'll have prayer services, all for the intentions of the pro-life movement for the protection of life from conception to natural death. And then we'll also be having a national pro-life mass at 12 p.m., which will be streamed on marchforlife.ca, as well as EWTN, Eternal Word Television Network. And then following that, at 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., we'll have a pro-life special on EWTN, and that will be with guests like Kevin Dunn, Stephanie Gray, and our Campaign Life Coalition Vice President, Matthew Wojciechowski. And so that's like one of the main draws. The theme will be on Be Not Afraid. So I definitely encourage people to watch that. And then following that at 2:30 p.m., we'll be hosting an online live stream. Again, we'll have really high profile guests, pro-life leaders, not only from across Canada, but also from across the world. So it will still be as big an event as it is every year, except again, we've had to make that transition online. And then on the following day, the Friday, May 15th, instead of having a youth conference, we'll be hosting a webinar with CLC Youth in Niagara Region Right to Life, specifically for young people, and it will be run exclusively by young people as well.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a whole bunch of really exciting things planned. I'm really excited about it. Can you give us, again, where people can go to participate?
Yes, so everything will be either linked to or streamed from marchforlife.ca. So you can find everything there. If you're wondering, okay, what time is something at? Again, that's where the schedule will be. That's where the links to everything will be, marchforlife.ca. You can also sign up in advance for updates regarding that event. So that all you have to keep in mind, marchforlife.ca.
That's great. So, you know, obviously we were all a little disappointed that you know, the big events had to be canceled. It's something that we love going to. I go to every single year. But with the fact that now everything is going online, we're doing a lot of things virtual. How do you think this is going to change the way rallies and events like this are going to be organized in the future?
Well, we've always wanted to do some video component. Unfortunately, we're not actually allowed to bring screens to Parliament Hill. It's something that we've tried to do in the past. Maybe that will change in the future. But through the planning of this virtual National March for Life, we've created new relationships and we've developed existing ones, again, with pro-life leaders from across Canada and from across the world. So it would be really great if we could incorporate what we're learning now into future marches, and that's definitely something we'll be looking at.
Yes.
Because even though everyone can't necessarily come to Ottawa, it is truly the National March for Life. So the more we can bring voices from across Canada to Parliament Hill, which is where the floodgates open and where hopefully one day they will close as well. That's what we're aiming for. So
right.
We're looking at ways that this will influence how we do the march in the future.
So this could actually be a good thing, you know, for future events.
Yes, yes. And again, even though it's quite disappointing that we're not able to be there in person this year, at least we're able to bring in a lot of voices that we wouldn't otherwise be able to include. So that's really cool in a way.
Yeah, that's great. So thanks again, Josie. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.
So I'm here with Eric Liscombe, youth minister at Holy Family in Bolton, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his experience and approach to being a youth minister during these new times. And so I wanted to start off, Eric, by asking, what did your youth ministry look like before the pandemic?
Hey, so my youth ministry is at Holy Family Bolton, that parish there, and it's a wonderful ministry. We have so much stuff going on. Once a week, we have a ministry called Edge, and that ministry is for kids in grades 6, 7, 8. Once a week on Saturdays, that's on Fridays. Once a week on Saturdays, we have Life Teen, which is for grades 9, 10, 11, 12, and people who are doing a victory up, so that high school age. And then we also, every other week, run a ministry called Rooted, which is a ministry that is really focused on the grades 3, 4, and 5, so that younger group. At different times, we've had things like men's groups or women's groups running. At the time, before the pandemic, we weren't running any of those. I'm also usually in the high school once a week. We are running the Alpha program for our high schoolers there. And then I'm usually at school masses, no matter which kind of school that's at. And that's the main brunt of things that we do, with a few other kind of one-off events everywhere else.
I see. So you had this rhythm going on, and then the pandemic happened. Once that did take place, how did you manage to pick your ministry back up?
So it was definitely interesting because we've been planning, especially a very big escape room kind of night for our high school ministry the Saturday before everything happened. And so as the news was kind of coming out, we had to cancel our Edge on the Friday. And then the next day, everyone was kind of on edge waiting. Are we going to have to cancel our Life Teen event that my sister and I had designed this escape room for? And it had to get canceled, unfortunately. And so it was really a moment of, well, what do we do now? Because this is so unheard of that, like, we've had to close down the church. And I talked to my pastor, and my pastor said, you know what, like, if the schools aren't safe to be open, then we can't run ministry. It's that simple, because it's not safe to bring them here if it's not safe for them to gather at school. So I had no idea what to do, because like everyone else, this is one of those moments where it's like, oh shoot, we weren't trained for this. We're not prepared for this. This has not happened before. And so I actually took a week where like I was just offline, where I was talking with other youth ministers. I wasn't really reaching out to my teens outside of the occasional text message and saying, hey, how's it going? How are you handling things? But there was nothing on our Instagram, which is our main way of kind of communicating. I didn't email out to parents. There was just kind of this uncertainty for about a week. And after about a week, I'd been taking that time trying to just talk to my different sets of volunteers and kind of coordinate what's our plan? What's our plan going to be? And so after about a week, I just posted a simple message on our Instagram and said, listen, guys, we love you. We miss you. We're not sure what this is going to look like yet, but we've been planning stuff. So stay tuned. We're going to get set. And it slowly kind of just built from there. And it went from me just being bored and seeing that lots of other youth ministers right out the gate were like, all right, we're at home. So let's put out let's lead the rosary on Instagram Live. Let's read the Divine Mercy Chaplet on Instagram Live. So other youth ministers really jumped ahead. So I pointed my teams there and I said, well, what's missing right now? Let's put some funny videos up. So I started something called Bathtub Theology, where I literally just filled my bathtub and fully clothed. I sat in the tub and I just tell little interesting theology tidbits, such as the fact that in the Catholic Church, a beaver technically counts as fish for eating on Fridays of Lent. And then from there, I started doing some more of that, some Instagram challenges between different youth ministers. And then I said, you know what, let's try a Zoom call for Life Team. Let's see what happens if we do this. So we put a big push out. I got my core team involved, and on Saturday night, we all gathered, and it was fantastic. I didn't realize how much I missed my kids, like seeing them until that moment, which was amazing. And we played some games. We did a little bit of a talk. We broke into our small groups, and it was awesome. And I said, like, is this something that we want to keep doing? And the team said yes. So we've now continued doing that. From there, I saw that other youth ministers, instead of doing an actual like kind of life team night, what they were doing was they were just doing small group stuff. So I said, hey, maybe our kids would be interested in small groups. So we reached out, and the girls said, yeah, we want to do a girls group. The guys said we want to do a guy group. So now on Thursdays and Fridays, we have women's group and men's group on top of our Saturday life team stuff. Another youth minister was doing office hours, where he was signing into a Zoom call and he would just sit there for like 2 hours and let people pop in and say hi and stuff. So I loved that idea. So every day now for about 2 hours, I run office hours where kids come in. If there's enough of them, we'll play games. Sometimes we just chat and they do their homework. Sometimes it's just relaxing and like everyone's doing their own thing, but we're together. So that's one of my favorite things to do, because it's just a daily constant. I get to check in with them, see how everyone's doing. Some of our age groups, like our grade 11s or our grade 12s, will meet separately. And then just recently we've started with our Edge age group, that kind of middle school age, where we are now having weekly meetings with them. And so we're having our third one coming soon, and we're kind of getting that back into the rhythm. So it's kind of been a blow up where I almost feel like I'm doing more now than I was beforehand.
No, that's awesome. I'm so happy to hear about all these great activities and everything. And I especially think that the bathtub theology is super creative, and that's really awesome you're doing that. And so how has this new normal impacted your ministry overall?
It's been a big change. The way I was grown up in ministry, because I went through ministry myself, and so it's the way I was formed, is that ministry is about being relational. And the easiest way to be relational is to be in person with someone, because that's when you can read the kind of signs, you can tell if they're comfortable, uncomfortable, start conversations, build that relationship, and have just a great friendship with them. And that friendship can then lead them closer into a relationship with Christ and deeper into their faith. It's also very important for, bringing them to Mass, encouraging them to come to Mass with you. And it's a very physical thing. And so in losing that, not just that our ministry kind of had to shut down, but losing the ability to go to Mass, through a huge loop through everything that we are doing, because we kind of pushed them away from things like social media and overusing their phones and all that. And now we're suddenly like, no, come use your Instagram, come use like Zoom, be on your electronics so that we can all do ministry. So it's been a huge shift of kind of a 180. But I would say that it's made some things much easier, because now from the ease of their home, like they don't have to worry about getting rides. Some of them, they can just kind of connect in. And the ones who want to be connected suddenly have access to way more content than they ever did before, because they can follow other youth ministries. They know what other groups are doing. They know what the Office of Catholic Youth is doing. And so because of this, they can kind of key in more. But the ones who were more on the periphery, the ones who we were kind of working a bit harder trying to bring them in, it's easier for them to ignore everything now. And so trying to make sure that we're attending to the needs of those who are trying to absorb everything, but also at the same time that we are reaching out to these guys on the periphery and those who aren't handling the shift as well. I'm very blessed that my daily life didn't change too much, besides the fact that now my office is my bedroom. But for some of these guys who are doing school, like, it's a massive shift. And so because they now have different needs, we have to try to attend to them in different ways. And that's why our times are more flexible. We have some stuff in the morning, some stuff in the evening. We've still tried to keep our Edge in Life on Friday and Saturday, which is their original day, for that sort of consistency, so that they know that like no matter what on a Friday, on that Saturday, we'll be there. But it's really just put a huge change in everything, because now all of our outreach is through electronics. And so we've tried to do things like we've talked as a core team about sending out mail to people. My sister, who's a core member, one of our volunteers, baked a whole bunch of baked goods for people and then dropped them outside their doors. So we're still trying to reach out in still very personal ways, but at the same time, it's moved all online, which has some definite pros to it, but it also has some serious major cons.
Definitely. And so in all this, have there been any highlights that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said earlier, to that first time when we went onto Zoom and I had me and like 5 of my volunteers, and we were like, we have no idea how this is going to go. This could go either really, really poorly, where like no one shows up, or we have a ton of technical issues, or this could go really, really well. So, and it really depends, because when you're doing something like an online ministry, your first one matters so much, because if we go on and there's tons of technical issues, or like it's just not enjoyable, or there's no kids, it's not going to make them want to come back. Because either they're going to feel like no one else cares, no one else is interested, or sure, they tried, that's nice, but it's such a technical mess that like, why would we want to connect into this? So when they connected in, that was what was going through my brain, was just how am I going to control this call? How are we going to do this? And I was kind of focusing on everything. But then as they started popping in, I hadn't seen them, because this was over probably a 2-week span from the last time I'd seen any of them. We hadn't done any real Zoom calls until that point. So I hadn't seen these kids in 2 weeks, and I was just seeing them weekly. And as soon as I saw them starting to pop in one at a time, and I saw their faces and then how excited they were to see each other, like I lit up. And I stopped focusing on anything that could go wrong or trying to make sure it went smoothly. And I just focused trying to be present and being with them. And it was a phenomenal experience, just getting to reconnect with them after so long of not being able to reconnect. And then there's just small moments where we're playing games that are a blast, and them coming in to do office hours and just hang out, and knowing that despite everything going on, that we're still in their heads and that they want to come say hi is always a great highlight. One of the other highlights I have is one of the things that I did mention earlier that we've been doing is a segment called Tea Time, which is just me on Instagram Live, and I bring in other youth ministers that they know, and we just argue about dumb things, and having moments where we are vehemently arguing between 2 youth ministers about whether or not it's necessary to wash your legs every time you shower. Just seeing the kids jump on those topics, and like then they want to start arguing, and so the comments are blowing up with them arguing while we're arguing. It's some of those moments where, despite this quarantine, despite being stuck at home and the lack of kind of social interaction that we're getting, everything seems to be very, very serious. And it's one of those moments where it's just silliness and everyone's just relaxed and enjoying themselves. And so that's another highlight, is having that where we can all just be ourselves and have fun, is a huge highlight to the experience. And I absolutely love what I get to do. And I just want to say that, like, just because we've kind of been shut down, our churches have been closed, doesn't mean youth ministry stops. It just means that we have to kind of adapt. And I've been blessed that I had a volunteer team that was willing to make some of those changes and kind of get on this. And so I want to encourage everyone, like, don't stop reaching out. Make sure that we are still ministering to those in the church who need ministering to, even though it might be unconventional.
Absolutely. No, that's very well said. Thank you so much, Eric.
All right. Thank you very much.
Carrie Papillon, is so good to have you in the program with us today. Welcome.
It's nice to see you. Thank you.
So you're an adult program coordinator. You work for the town of Aurora, which is just north of Toronto in Ontario. What do you normally do? What is your job?
So my colleague and I are responsible for all recreation programming for everyone over the age of 18 in Aurora. However, our main responsibility is management of the Aurora Senior Center. That's a recreation facility, so they don't sleep there, they go home. And we have over 1,600 members.
Wow.
We offer 200 activities a week, and we get between 250 and 300 visits a day at the center.
And so seniors older, over 65, I presume.
Actually, we say 55.
Okay. Okay, so I could go soon. In a couple of years, I can start going. Do you organize programs? What kinds of programs do you have for the clients?
So our main activities are fitness related. They really like to keep fit and be strong and keep moving. We have sports like badminton and table tennis and pickleball. And we have a full range of computer activities, and then the typical things you'd expect, like cards and bingo and anything to keep people socialized and fit.
Right. So obviously the center now is closed. So
Correct.
how have you adjusted? What kinds of services are you providing now?
So we closed on March 13th. And since then, we were really lucky. In March of 2019, we started a program called Seniors Center Without Walls. And it's a telephone program where we conduct teleconference calls with seniors. We play games, we do different activities. And before this, we were only doing 2 to 3 calls a week. Since then, we've expanded our programming where we're doing 2 to 3 calls a day. So on a typical call, we could get anywhere between 20 and 50 participants all at the same time.
Okay. So you have scheduled calls. How does that work?
Well, we call them. So we offer a call each morning, and we offer a call each afternoon. And we either offer something to keep people moving, so a stretch class that we have a very talented instructor who tells them what to do, raise your arm out to the side and turn your head. And she's really quite good at it. I don't think I could quite manage as well. And then the other aspect is we really want people to have fun right now. We want laughter, and we want to have games and keep them cognitively stimulated. So lots of silly games, but lots of quizzes and interaction as well.
So just to clarify, so it's a phone call. It's not a video call, correct?
Correct. Not everyone has internet access, but everyone has a phone. So that's why it's so important to us that we keep this as low tech as possible.
And what has the response been? You said you sometimes have 20 or so participants on the same call?
Yes. So it's been a challenge. So over the past year, so between March of 2019 and March of 2020, a really big call for us would be about 15 people on a call. And over the course of the first year, we spoke to about 900 people over the phone.
Wow.
We met that number in the first 3 weeks we were closed. So it's been really phenomenal. Now, some people are on with us twice a day, every day. Some people are only on with us once or twice a week, and that's okay. We just want to stay connected and let people know that there's people out there who want to talk to them.
Right. Carrie, some of our viewers probably are caring for a senior at home or an older adult, or maybe they have an older adult in their family. They're not able to see them. How important is it that we stay connected with them? What advice do you have for our viewers?
I was really lucky. I just attended a webinar from the International Council on Activity and Ages. And they said seniors need to focus on 3 things right now. One, they need to keep moving. Mm-hmm. We're all living in smaller, closer confined areas right now, and we're not moving very much. So it's important that you build movement into your day all the time. Shrug your shoulders, bend your neck, just keep everything moving. Even just circle your wrists while you're sitting, circle your ankles, keep things loose and limber. So that's one thing to really get the older adults in your lives moving. Have them pace the hallways, keep moving. The other thing is to stay connected. Social isolation, which we're all trying to be physically distant, but isolation itself is one of the biggest risk factors for seniors to experience depression and to fall. The more isolated a senior is, the more likely they are to have a catastrophic fall in their life. And we all want to stay out of the emergency room right now. So stay connected, talk to people, and call them. The third thing that's really important for older adults right now is to have a purpose. And what we keep telling people is your purpose is to stay safe, and it's to stay healthy. Make that your purpose every day. Eat well, keep moving, and stay connected. In fact, I'd like to even give our members homework and challenge them to call someone that they haven't heard from in a while.
Right.
Reach out, do your homework, stay connected, and just build that sense amongst yourselves that you've got that caring community who's going to reach out to you.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of wisdom among your clients. What sorts of things are they telling you about what's happening in the world right now?
It's funny, some of them were alive during the Depression, and it reminds them of that time a little bit where it was very community building, but at the same time very isolating. You felt alone in poverty, where now you feel alone in isolation. But at the same time, there's so many great people caring for everyone right now they also really feel that too, where they feel that connection and caring that the community is really reaching out for them. A bunch of them have rediscovered a love for crafts. And we have so many people who are making masks for some of our local long-term care homes, not for the PSWs and the nurses there, but for the actual residents themselves. So they're finding a new love of things to do that they haven't done in a long time.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, I know you don't work for a faith-based organization. You work for a municipality.
I do.
Faith is probably, I know faith is important in your life.
It is.
Are you finding that there are some elements of faith that the seniors or your adults are looking for or longing for?
You know, even my colleague and I, when we look back at how we started Senior Center Without Walls a year ago, we see God's hand through this whole process, and it's really been remarkable. And we keep telling people what a blessing this has been for us. You know, so many places right now are struggling to get things off the ground, and we're established. We're lucky. Even the grant that we received to get this off the ground gave us the technology and the equipment to continue our work from home. And we've reached out to people that we never, ever would have reached out to before. A lot of them are finding solace in prayer right now. They know I'm Catholic. They know my faith is important to me. And they're always listening to me talk about that as much as we're allowed to anyway. And I can hear it in their voices. It's really giving them something to believe in right now. They're reaching out and they're finding the solace in their faith. Those of them that have it, and you know, those that don't, I think they're really starting to believe in something bigger right now, which gives me a lot of hope as well.
Yeah, well, good. And I think you've given us a little bit of hope too today. I'm so glad that you were able to continue doing what you're doing. And thank you for the advice that you've given us so that we can also care for the seniors in our lives. Thank you, Carrie, for being with us today.
God bless.
And that's all for today. I was wondering what was going to happen to the March for Life this year. Can you believe it'll be the first time in 23 years that there's no march? So it's amazing to see that there will be so many events happening online. Don't forget, the virtual march is a week-long program starting May 10th. And what did you think about Eric doing youth ministry? Are you a youth minister? Tell us how you've adapted your youth ministry meetings. Also, do you have an older adult at home with you? Or do you have an older adult in your family that you haven't been able to see? Weren't Carrie's suggestions good ones? How have you been helping the seniors in your family? Or are you a senior? How have you been coping during this time? Share your stories with us by following Salt and Light Media on all of our social media platforms and commenting with the hashtag #HopeFromHome. If you miss any part of the episode and you'd like to watch it again, visit our website saltandlighttv.org/HopeFromHome. We hope that these stories inspire you to stay positive and remind you that we're all still connected through hope.